Hi everyone, this is the JUSTPADRIDE Snowboard channel. I'm Lars Horstman and today I'm going to show you how to fix one of the most common ugly edge injuries on a snowboard. Let's take a look what it is. So we got this Jones Frontier here, and this board is almost brand new, and I feel very sorry for the owner because somebody knocked it over as the board was standing up against the wall. And this is a very, very common thing that we see here. So the board got knocked right on its contact point. Obviously, that's the widest spot. I'm not sure whether it fell onto some sort of an edge or like a set of stairs or whatever, but it has a pretty good gouge in the edge there. You can see this. And what we see here is basically an indentation in the base material. That's obviously because the base material got pushed inwards. So I need to make 2 cuts, peel back the base, hammer back the edge to be straight, and then glue it all back down. And that is easier than you may think. So what I'm going to do first, just to give myself a work perimeter in a way, I'm going to put some masking tape on there. You will see in a little bit why I'm doing that. I want to make this as little as possible, my whole open heart surgery. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut into the base here, here, and right along the edge. I'm not going to cut this line. Main riding direction is this way. So by leaving this uncut here, I'm not creating an edge or a corner that could be caught, you know, hitting a stump or a rock or whatever. So basically, I'm going to peel that back, heat it up a bit with a heat gun, hammer the edge back into place, and then if everything goes well, I can just use this exact same piece of base, just flip it back over, glue it all back into place, and I don't have to make a base patch, and I don't have any kind of incision right here. So that's the goal. Let's see how that goes. First, I'm going to put a metal scraper right on this one line here. Doesn't matter which line you choose to start with. So now you can see why I actually put a tape here, because every time I insert my knife, I just do that right in this corner, so I don't accidentally go like a couple millimeters further in or not deep enough or whatever. My tape is marking where I'm going to cut. Definitely use a fresh blade on your knife. That's super important. So I had to switch my perspective here because I couldn't get my hand in there where I had my tripod set up before. It cuts like butter. Fresh blade, super important. So there are 2 other ways of going about this. One is to simply ignore it and pretend nothing ever happened. And you can do that if there's no D-lam here. But in our case, you can see that I can put my blade in here, right? And that means there is a D-lam, and that's going to be attracting water right there. And then you will eventually get all kinds of issues. Edge is going to rust, D-lam of the base in there, potentially damage to the wood core. The wood core expands with changing temperatures. So, you know, this is a case where it's like, all right, we got to do what we got to do to keep this almost brand new board alive and well. So next cut is going to be this line here. And now you see why I put tape here. I can cut right to this very corner here, and my tape will just guide me that I don't cut too far. Don't push too hard. It's better to do multiple cuts and get deeper and deeper as you go, instead of maybe slipping, and you'll eventually feel like there's some sort of coarse kind of resistance happening. That's basically your fiberglass layer that you're hitting underneath, and then you know that you've gone through. I think I'm through. All right, and now I got to cut along the edge here. That's a little bit funny because I have a ding in there, but yeah, it's got to be done. Sometimes it's enough to just do the beginning, just so you have an easier time flipping up this little corner. All right, I think this will do. So there's different tools you can use for this. You can try a chisel. You can try just an exactor knife that you poke in there. I'm going to try my chisel here. This is, I hate this part of the repair. You want to be so careful getting in there, because this is the moment where you may mangle it. And that is just a little bit nerve-wracking. Because the thing is that this corner here is still perfectly adhered. This is all just kind of loose and delamed, but this corner here is still perfectly bonded to whatever is underneath. A little heat gun action sometimes helps. There we go. Okay, so here's a bit of a corner that we got loose. That's good. I'll pry a little more. There we go. Now you can gently push underneath with your chisel. Feel out whether you've cut through. I've cut through. Here we go. Here comes the base. So now you can see, like, the fact that I cut that open here on the side is actually helping me a little bit. And of course this piece, we'll have to like sand this a little bit before we can put it back in. But that should work after all. Bit more heat gun action. So when you heat it up, you can fold it back. And here you can see the damage, right? You can see how I can easily get underneath here. And this tooth as well. This is no longer glued properly. So what I'm going to do is I'll take a hammer and a screwdriver and just whack this edge back into place. That's a bit violent, but not a difficult thing to do. Alright, that's all we need to do. And now what's important is that we get epoxy under here somehow. It's going to be a little bit finicky. Just clean that up a little bit. Maybe some sandpaper. And before you glue this down, you want to see whether your base actually fits in nicely. So if I just fold this back down now, does it actually fit in here? The main thing is our bubble in the base is going to be gone. And the contact point is straight again. You don't want your board at the spot where it engages turns to have like a weird dent. Now, I didn't finish my sentence earlier. The test is, can I get something in here or not? Most likely you can. If that's the case, this needs to be fixed. And it needs to be fixed this way, because otherwise you cannot get epoxy in there and get the bubble out of the base. What you can also do, if you don't care all that much, is simply shave down that bubble on the base and call it a day. However, that's not a very nice fix, and it actually doesn't fix the delam issue here, and you will get water in there. Now, what you can do if you choose to do that, if you're fine with the dent in the edge, is to simply try to get epoxy in there from the outside and clamp it, and then shave down the base material, that bubble that we've seen here. That's not a good fix, but you could do that if you are fine with the dent in your edge. I think brand spanking new board like this one deserves to be fixed properly. So we're going to do it properly. I'm going to just mix up some epoxy. I'm using a specific ski epoxy, which actually keeps some sort of elasticity. You don't want those things to dry out super hard, because then, you know, with all the flexing of your snowboard, that will simply break and delam again. I want something that stays flexible. And it's a good idea to heat that up a little. It gets much thinner and then you can spread it around much easier. You want to make sure that you have equal parts, so I have to adjust this here a little bit. In this case, it's equal parts. That's not every epoxy. This epoxy is 24-hour cure time, and I think it's workable for an hour, which is awesome. It's really slow curing. That's always an advantage after all when you do these repairs. The quick curing ones, I think, don't have quite the bonding strength or other issues. Should I pop that in there? Now what I should be doing at this point, or I should have done this before, or I should have probably left it just on there, is tape that off again, because I don't necessarily want more of a mess than I really need. So now I'm protecting the base a little bit. That's much better. I'm gonna get my epoxy all the way in there. It was actually quite difficult to get epoxy under these teeth. When you make the epoxy really thin with the heat gun, you can just try to get a little bit in there. There you go, it's another one, it's a little loose. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat up my patch again, because I want this patch to fold down easily. And I want it to be kind of soft and supple, so I can move it around so it's really gonna sit in there properly. That's the good thing about using epoxy that doesn't cure super fast. That gives you time to make it nice, right? That's kind of the goal here, to make it as nice as we can. So I'm just gonna make sure that I have my glue everywhere. And what you can do is push the patch in and actually squeeze out your overflow before you then attach the clamps. And this is something that I normally prefer doing. There's a very nice tight fit. Just gonna squeeze that out a little. You need a rag somewhere around so you can quickly wipe your hands. So and now we want to use, make sure it's in, and we want to use 2 plastic scrapers, one underneath because you don't want to damage the top sheet of the board. Take a thin one that flexes nicely, and then what you can do to get everything in place is use a quick clamp. So I'm going to do it here real quick. And now you have hands free to actually put on the real clamps. You can put wax paper under the scrapers that you're putting on here. But yeah, whatever, it's not crucial. There you go. 3 clamps are covering the area perfectly. And now we're going to let this thing sit 24 hours, and tomorrow night, video part 2. I've done this fix many times. It's not an unusual thing when you place your board against the wall and it just slides down and hits that contact point. This is almost 100% certain that that is going to happen. So I don't think this is super difficult. I think you could possibly do this by yourself. It's not rocket science, but it's definitely scary. I'm not necessarily recommending that everybody does this on their own at home, but the people among you that are quite good with their hands and can work with tools and pay attention to detail, I mean, you would know, right? You watch this video and you're like, oh, I can do that. Or you're like, yeah, no, hell no. So your own judgment count. But yeah, that's basically it. We're going to look at this once it's cured, and hopefully it'll come out nicely. All right, moment of truth, 24 hours later. Let's see how she goes. This is exciting, I love that. Wow, that is looking perfect. All right, we're gonna quickly take a big file to the leftover epoxy on the edge. Like so. And then a metal scraper for the base. You could do this part with a file as well. I think we'll be good with just this scraper. A Fibertex pad, one of these guys here. So our little Jones Frontier is all fixed up, and I just did a tune, did the edges, and did a wax. And obviously my co-pilot here in the tuning shop, not only on the hill, is Craig. And let's see what we did here together. That's how we're looking. I think that is pretty much perfect. Our edge looks like it did before when that board was new. The little side ding came out as well. My epoxy filled in the amount of P-Tex that I took out excessively here with my incision. So this is all flush and feels great. Board is all greased up and ready to rip. Should be fast. And yeah, I am hoping that these kinds of videos inspire you to keep riding your boards even after such damage. Of course, this particular one that's devastating, the board hadn't been ridden more than a couple of days and somebody knocked it over. But yeah, no reason to cry about it. If you're good with your hands and some simple tools, you might be able to do this yourself. Get the right epoxy, that's all it takes. Otherwise, shops do these things probably at a reasonable charge. Hopefully you find someone skilled, but that is not a reason to chuck that board in a landfill or sell it or whatever. Keep riding your boards for a long time. Mostly for next year, all that changes is a top sheet graphic, and who cares? So keep boards out of landfill, keep riding them for a long time. You deserve it, your wallet deserves it, and for the most part, the planet deserves it. All right, stay safe out there, happy turns, and see you on the hill. Bye-bye.